When you end up doing the tough things every single day, your life becomes a lot easier. What's up, guys? It is Mighty Q here with Mighty Q's Locker, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the easy way to find success. Yes, there is an easy way to find success, and I'm going to describe that with a wrestling story. So sit back, relax, maybe even grab a snack, grab some water, grab a Gatorade, and let's get down to it. The easy way to find success. So, a lot of you guys talk to me and message me and say things like, hey, I really want to make it to states, I was so close, or hey, I want to make the team, or I just want to make it out of regionals or out of districts or whatever it may be. But it always sums up back to like a lot of people talk about making it to state and I just want to make to be able to get to state and all this other stuff. That is a very challenging goal that I think a lot of people don't realize. So in the state of Texas, there's 4 regions, and it's 4 people per region that go, which is 16 wrestlers in the entire state of Texas. And there's 32 wrestlers from each weight class because there's 5A and below, and then there's 6A that has their own. So there's 32 guys at each weight class that make state every single year. And when you think about that number compared to the number of wrestlers that are in the state, that is a very, 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 very small number. That is a very good and lofty goal. I mean, it could be whatever it may be, but I'm going to use the example of making it to state because that's what my goal was when I came into high school my freshman year. I wanted to make it to state. Up until that point, I had placed at state every year in youth. I had won nationals a couple times. I had placed at nationals all but I think like 3 times in youth, and I wrestled in at least 3 national tournaments every year. Some years it was 5. But there was just a stretch where I finished top 3 in virtually I literally was on the podium in virtually every tournament. It was a long stretch. Like nationals is what broke it. I went 0-2 at Panhandle Nationals. I was in, I think it was 7th grade. I think I went 0-2 at Panhandle Nationals, and then that sent me on a tear where I absolutely tore through the rest of the year and just absolutely just dominated that. And that's when I ended up winning that first year. And that was the second year that I won Houston Nationals, and I just absolutely just blew through everybody else, and then made it all the way to 8th grade and kept doing the same thing. And then once it came time to get to high school, I'd been wrestling really good and I was really confident, but it was, hey, I'm going to be wrestling against the guys who I'd been practicing against. If you listen to the last episode, I'd been practicing against high schoolers since I was in 5th and 6th grade. So it's not like I was not accustomed to what I was going to be seeing once I got to the next level. But it was a step up, and it was another ramp up in that level. There's a certain amount of people that wrestle in youth, and then there's a certain amount of people that stop once they get to high school, and there's another certain amount of people that stop in college, and then that's it. So there's this ramp up where it's like, hey, this is a very high level, and this is going to be a shooting off platform. And so for me, coming in on my freshman year, I was feeling really good, and I just really wanted to continue that momentum, and I wanted to keep that going. And I can remember sitting in school, and I was thinking about the wrestling season, and the reason I was thinking about it was because I didn't play very good my freshman year of golf. That fall semester, that first year in golf, I did not play very well. I'm pretty sure I shot like a 102 my first tournament out, and then I shot like a 97 or something. I didn't play well that fall semester. And so for me, it was like, well, I'm a really good wrestler. I care about wrestling. I've been really focused on wrestling. Like, I'm going to go and do what I need to do. And it came to me when I was sitting at a desk, or I was, sitting at somewhere. And I just remember I was like, well, what do I want out of this wrestling year? And I can remember sitting there and just like going through, and I was just like, okay, well, I want to make it to state. And I wrote that on there. I want to win a tournament. I wrote that on there. I want to get 25 double legs, and I wrote that down. I was like, I want to get 25 sweeps. I wrote that down. I want to get 25 chicken wings, and I wrote that down. And I want to get 25 cradles. Wrote that down. I want to get 15 ankle picks. Wrote that down. And I just went through all these different things that I wanted. And it wasn't the full sheet, but it was probably like 15 or 20 things on just a regular sheet of notebook paper. And I didn't fill up the whole thing. I didn't go all the way down to the bottom. I stopped, a little bit past halfway. And most of them had numbers next to it. And I kept it in my binder. I mean, it was a blue binder and it had a clear front, and I slid that in the front of my binder. So every day when I got, I took my binder out of my backpack and I put it on my desk. No matter what class it was, no matter what day, I saw the goals for that year and what I wanted from wrestling every single class period of every single day for the entire wrestling season. I mean, it happened. I made it just before, like I had just started practicing. So I want to say I made it in like October-ish. It was before the season got rolling, but I want to say I made it in October because it was around the time that we did weight certification. For those of you who don't know, weight certification in Texas is where they have installed the program where they do about a month out from kind of when the season begins. You go and you do a hydration test, and depending on your hydration is when they either move you forward, or if you fail the hydration, you're failed for the day, and that's the first thing you start with. So they make sure that you're hydrated. Once they see that you're hydrated, you then move on to where they do a fat caliper on you before you actually step on the scale. So they get all your numbers. They pull from multiple different places and get those numbers jotted down. And then you step on the scale. They see what you weigh. They write that down. And then you get a whole packet of all these different nutrition and all these different things that applies directly to you and your numbers. But it maps out how much weight in total you can lose for the entire season. So I remember I weighed in it was just a little bit less than 130. I think I was like 128 or something. I definitely cut down to that because I was walking around at like 35. So I cut down a couple pounds, got rehydrated, and then went and did that test. And they told me that the lowest that I could wrestle that season was 113. The earliest I could wrestle 113 was after January 1st, and it was like the second to last tournament or something like that. So they measure it out to where they don't allow you to cut a bunch of weight really early on. So if I wanted to go 113 based off of where I was, I would have had to wait until the second to last tournament of the year to get down to that weight because of what my fat percentages were, what I actually weighed, and all of the metrics and math behind that. So the fact that Texas did that when I first came, I love that. I think that every state should implement something like that. I think it was you're not going to prevent weight cutting. So I think this weight certification system is a very good way of doing it. The only thing that I think should change is I think that it should be done on a random day. I think that the people should just show up. I think they should just kind of go around in the first month of the school year. And I think that they should just show up at all the schools and they should just show up and do it. So that way the teams don't know, hey, you have to be down to XYZ weight by Wednesday, and you need to get down to, 125, but make sure that you're hydrated. So, if you get to 127, but you're hydrated, you're good. I think that'll stop a lot of the shenanigans. And I think you can start to implement something that's going to end up being a little bit healthier. So back to on the side note. So I was wrestling 120 and I just remember every single class. I got it it was like you pull the binder out. You know how you do with those big binders that you have like all 6 subjects in. You pull it out, you put it on the desk, and you kind of look at it. And I just remember all these times I used to just look at it. And I just used to see it. And then once the season actually started, I then was going through and I was tracking. Okay, I got 2 double legs this weekend. Boom, put 2 tallies. Oh, I got 3 chicken wings this past week. Boom, put those. Oh, I got this one. And I tracked it all year. And what ultimately ended up happening, roughly 75% of my goals I hit, and I exceeded that limit. I remember, you do the ramp up where it's like, well, I want to, have 10 wins, have 20 wins, have 30 wins, have this, have this, have that. And I exceeded 30 wins. I made it to state. I got out of districts. I got out of regionals. I took 3rd at regionals. And all of these little things were exactly what I said at the very beginning of the season. And so when I look at it and I go, okay, well, the fact that I hit on 75% of them, what little things was I doing? Well, it started with the fact that I was tracking everything. The fact that I was tracking as I went was huge. Hey, how close am I? How good am I making am I making progress on this or am I not? It wasn't like I was just keeping it in my head. I was seeing an actual tally. Hey, you have hit 5, double legs and 3 chicken wings in the last week. Boom. You made really good progress this week. Keep that up. And okay, maybe you start slacking. Okay, well, we need to work on, you need to work on the double legs. You need to work on the single this week, or, you need to work on the half, whatever it was that week. And it's like, okay, well, I didn't do something well. And so it was very easy to see what I didn't do well. It was very easy to see what I did well. So the things that I did well, I continued to work harder on and just kind of, kept doing what I was doing with them. So that way I got better. And then I found the things that I was weak at, and I went and I started implementing those into, okay, those are now in my new daily regimen. Those are now something that I'm going to pay attention to. And part of one of those things was I'm never going to miss weight. I never missed weight my entire wrestling career. All 14 years of it, I never missed weight once. And it's because it's something that's very easily tracked and you can see it and you can do it multiple times a day. The scale gives you a number. You see that number. And if you just continue to keep looking at that number, it's very easy to track. You can see it go up and down. And I did the same with the goals. I followed along. I made progress. When I wasn't making progress, I said, oh, I'm slacking here. Here's a very clear sign of where I'm slacking. And that's exactly what I started doing. So if you want to make it to state, or you want to make it to nationals, or you want to have 35 wins or whatever it is, write it down. And once you write it down, find a place where you're going to see it all the time. And not only see it all the time, but like something that you can like write on. Like I know some people make it their lock screen on their phone. That's great. If it's your lock screen on your phone, make sure that you have the notes saved, that you can like go to your notes and you can keep track in your notes. If it's a sheet of paper, whether it's next to your bed or it's next to your shoes or it's on your phone or it's in your binder, whatever it may be, make sure you just have it with you and you keep track and you keep progress. That's the important piece. Until you set them, until you say what you want, until you write it down, you're not going to know. And so you're going to kind of drift and you're going to kind of not really know. And then you're going to look at it and go, well, it was okay. Or maybe it was good. Or maybe it was bad. Or maybe it was great. Maybe it was fantastic. But are you really ever going to know what you could have done until you set what you actually want to get? And so for me, I hit 75% of those goals. The other 25%, somewhere I didn't care about. Some were a little bit too lofty and maybe were too short of a time frame. They then got pushed out and extended. They got added to the next year. But not having them written down, I would have never made the progress that I did, because at one point I was 1,200, or not 1,200. I was 500 on the year. I remember being 12 and 12. I was 12 and 12 in December. Maybe it was in January. Either way, it was like either the end weeks of December or the beginning weeks of January, relative to the same thing. And from that point forward, like I remember seeing it, and I remember seeing what my record was on my sheet, and I was like, that's not very good. And not only is that not very good, I'm going to really struggle to hit 30 wins if I keep up this pace. And it's like, as soon as I said that, like it was like that next weekend, I took third. The following week, I then won back-to-back dual matches. I then won 3 in a row. I then, took third again in another tournament. And so it's like I just kept racking up a bunch of wins with, one loss. And I took third at a bunch of tournaments. And it was kind of frustrating me. But either way, I was still racking up a bunch of wins. And when you take third, you only have one loss. It's like, okay, that's not too bad. But I had a lot of wins that was coming with that. So I was kind of okay. And I just kind of kept adding them. And during the week with duels, I kind of kept winning more and more duels. And I was just like, well, here we are. And then like I looked back at it by the time I right before districts, and I was like, oh, I'm at 29 wins or something like that. And then smashed through it with districts. Kept, furthered along with regionals, won a match at state. So it's like I just kind of continued it and continued it and continued it and continued it. And then next thing you know, boom, I got it. Looking at it now, it's very easy. It's very easy. It's very simple. And the reason it's very easy and very simple is because it was very easy and very simple for me to do every day. But the same reason why it's very easy and very simple to do, it's very easy and very simple not to do. So I could have not kept it in my binder. I could have never written them down from the beginning. I would have never been able to track the progress. I would have never been able to see where I was doing good versus where I was doing bad. I would have never been able to see how close I am, or where I need to double down, or, hey, you're not going to hit it. You need to, really focus up and pay attention. I would have never known that. I would have never had an idea. And so now, when I think about it and I look at it and I go, oh, well, of course I hit it. It was pretty easy. It was pretty simple. I literally wrote down my goals, and I saw them every day, and I just followed the progress, and I just kind of kept doing all the little things every single day, and mind you, I was still going to extra practices. I was still doing, all my same normal stuff. But to me, it was just, hey, I was waking up. I was going to practice. Hey, I got to work on my double leg today. Or, hey, I got to work on my half today. Hey, I got to work on this today. And it was that simple. It was that easy. And then next thing you know, at the end of the year, 75% of my goals were hit. And I didn't really do anything too crazy. Not only did I not do anything too crazy, it was very simple. It was very easy. And that is the secret. That is the cheat code. Winning ends up being very simple. Success ends up being very easy. But the reason that success and failure, one happens or the other happens, is because you either do the very simple and easy things or you don't. Plain and simple. They're easy to do, and they're just as easy not to do. So, if you're looking for the answer, if you're looking for the cheat code, There it is. All right, guys. That's going to do it for me today. That is a message that I don't know if you guys know, but or whether or not you're even listening, but the one person that's listening the loudest is myself. That's the same that goes for every podcast. There's things that I've done in my past that I know have worked and I know will continue to work. And it's just about a reminder and clocking in, showing up, and doing the right stuff. So as always, if you guys enjoyed the show, the one thing I ask is if you share the show with a friend. Because if you can share it with a friend, you never know how much it could help them. And the one person you share it with, it might be the one thing that they need to hear. So I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll catch you later. All right. Mighty Q is out.